What's up, Nibbles? J-dawg back to answer some more goddamn questions. Today's questions we're going over are on the video posted 2 weeks ago. Typo negative, question mark, question mark. Psh, that's for Quakers. Any of you guys figure out where that line was from? Remember I told you bonus points? I don't know if anybody put it in here. I didn't look at the comments before doing this video, but like I said, each day I glance at the comments quickly to make sure everything went up okay. But it's 150 comments here, so most of the shit I haven't seen because I usually check. There's only usually each time I check for a day, there's like 20 comments by the time because it's like the first few hours. Nobody seems to have gotten it, so we'll see if anybody is. Pluck a little bit of pause. You know what that's from? Psh, that's for Quakers. Don't know. Any guesses? From the fucking movie Kingpin. Fucking hilarious. Flow. Devils that didn't know. It's question marks in here. Death Metal Dero. Good day again, J-dawg, and thanks for the response. I noticed the omission of sadistic execution. The omission, like omission how? What we talking about? Despite them frequently being one of the first bands on people's lips when it comes to Australian metal. Oh, it's probably was the video where a guy asked me what my favorite band's from Australia. Did somebody ask my favorite band's from Sweden, then Australia? Vaguely remember that. What are your thoughts on them? Their first two albums, along with the Slaughterlord demos, are probably my favorite Aussie metal releases. You know what's funny? Actually, yeah, it probably has to be that video, or at least when we talked about that. I remember, like, when signing out the video, talking about my favorite stuff from Australia, you always forget something. Like, literally, because all this shit's off the cuff, you know what I mean? And I was like, I know I'm probably forgetting somebody, and I always do, is Slaughterlord. That's literally... Go over to Hell's Head because we got a restock in recently. That Thrash Till Death CD, that's all you need. Well, actually, I take that back. I have a bootleg rehearsal LP too. I think there's only like 150 made. Good luck fucking finding that. That's going to be an eBay or a Discogs. It's called They Call Us Legion. That was a rehearsal LP. But the two demos, 86, 87 demo, that's the main thing you're going to need. It's called Thrash Till Death. That's one of my favorite things. But that's next to Destroyer 666 and the first Hobbs Angel of Death and Hobbs Angel of Death demos. Favorite stuff from Australia. By fucking a milestone. That and the Incubus Spectral Birth demos. It's funny because the Slaughterlord, it's how funny that I forgot that too. Like that CD particularly, like yeah, if you don't have that, you are absolutely fucking missing out. Like that is a metal, absolute essential metal. Sure, Tom Warrior doesn't listen to that either, even though it was fucking 4 years after his time frame and he was still fucking young and listen to heavy music though. Guarantees never even heard it, or if he has, he doesn't like it, doesn't listen to it. But anywho, that's the main shit I pretty much listen to mostly. It's stuff like, yeah, that Slaughterlord disc, that gets played very, very regularly. So a lot of the demo discs of the earlier bands, like for example, I had brought to my disc to the shop because I was listening to it. You know what else in it is the Grave demos. This was the official release. I have a bootleg double LP of it. I have the triple, I think it's a triple or quadruple LP of this. This is all the Grave demos with the Corpse demo, the Putrefaction demo. This release was fucking great. Fucking posers over at Central Media finally got the memo to put this out when somebody bootlegged it. So, but they did a really good job. I'll give them that. So shit like that, the Slaughterlord demos, that Fatal demo disc. Also, I believe it was Central Media that there's I think it's a triple disc as well. The Necropsy demos, the double or the triple? Pretty sure it's triple. That, the Hobbs Angel of Death demo disc. A lot of like I was saying, all those compilations, like a lot of the Devastation Chicago demo disc and the unreleased album on there, all that stuff, that's for the most part what I listen to the most, with the exception of like my favorite albums. We're really talking about Cannibal Corpse, Deicide, Mortician, first two Carcasses, like that. Outside favorite albums, a lot of the music that I'm listening to majority of the time, if see what just J-dawg spend the most, is shit like that. So for example, that Slaughterlord disc, if you claim you're into fucking metal, you can't go to the fucking grave without that, especially not knowing it. And if you consider them a thrash metal band, then it's definitely that's the thrash I prefer. Kind of like more that death thrash, Devastation from Chicago, that, Sacrifice, Torment, and Fire, things like that, the Crater, Pleasure to Kill, Blood Feast, kind of like the more violent shit. But, I mean, for its time, the Slaughterlord, if someone was to consider them like death metal as well, just like some people consider like Sepultura, Morbid Visions death metal. Remember we had that debate, argue back and forth? You don't need to get your panties all up a bunch if you disagree. I don't give a fuck one way or another. If it's death metal, it's death metal. If it's not, it's not. If it's thrash, it's thrash. Just like Sodom and the Sign of Evil. Some people will throw in their death metal, black metal. Whichever it is, if it's death metal, then that's some of the early death metal shit that's fucking phenomenal and an absolute must. Like, if you claim you're into metal, that you in my opinion, again, I shouldn't say there's anybody that's have to like, because even like Possessed Seven Churches, you don't have to like. But you at least
if you're in the metal scene and you're underground, you at least have to have heard it. Let's just say that. You at least have to be familiar. Like, okay, heard it. Thought it was kind of boring, J-dawg. Like, the sound quality wasn't for me. Fair enough. But going to your grave, I have never heard the Slaughterlord demos. That to me is unacceptable. But yet you heard fucking some newer goddamn 2022 band. Unacceptable. So that's an absolute must. So go over and get the goddamn Slaughterlord. Didn't even fucking think of that. Wasn't even planning on sales pitching that. I just saw that it came in. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. Because I always like having the good solid shit on the shelves. You know what I mean? And so I don't know how many we got in there. Not a shitload, but highly recommend them. But to answer your question on, so that answered your question on Slaughterlord. I'm praise them up and down, left and right, side to side. Sadistic Execution, that band's image was so fucking cool, and it influenced a lot of bands that I really do praise. Like, for example, a band, I think it is Master's favorite, Master from Beast of Mockery. You guys know I'm a huge Beast of Mockery fan, especially the first two albums. I'm pretty sure that's like his favorite band, and so it was a huge influence on Beast of Mockery. But Sadistic Execution, every time I put it on, I like the image. I like the whole. They're the ones starting with the X's and the K's. You know what I mean? And but it's been a while since I put anything on by them. But I've listened to them at least 5 times the totality, different recordings, and it just does nothing for me. It was just complete background that I just couldn't get into. It reminds me of, like, for example, it's like Voivod for me. Like, they just it's great, solid, original metal, very original for the time, pioneers of their own to their own right, but it didn't do nothing for me. I was like, going in one ear out the other. Blasphemy's another band, Fallen Angel Doom, Gods of War, all that shit's classic as fuck. I respect the hell out of it, and it has its place. And if somebody's like, that's my all-time favorite band, I completely understand why. Absolute legends, but I'm not a fucking poser. I don't claim I like stuff just because you're supposed to like it. You know what I mean? Just like I said earlier, you don't have to like the Slaughterlord. Maybe it's one ear out the other for you, but you got to at least say you heard it. For example, I've heard Sadistic Execution, just didn't do anything for me. I've heard Blasphemy, just doesn't do anything for me. I've heard what, like, you can't walk around and be like, I never heard Voice of War or Pain, but I'm into metal. That's just, what? That's fucking stupid. You at least have to fucking heard it. You know what I mean? So it's just, they're one of those bands for me, Sadistic Execution. But every time we get them in, it sells very, very well for Hells. Their image is fucking awesome. It was a band that's like, I really want to like this, but I just couldn't get them. You know what? It's probably in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I'll probably put them on the player again. Who knows? Maybe as I get older, maybe I'll feel the magic, for lack of better terms. You know what I mean? Sometimes that happens. You put it on, you're like, you know what? I'm really digging this. Can't think of who I've done that where I initially didn't like it out the gate, but years and years later, gone back to it and being like, this is pretty fucking good. I mean, I talked about those later deaths and shit like that. I was like, not as bad as I remember it, but as far as like going from not liking it, not doing anything, to like to loving it, can't think if it's happened or not. I want to say that it has, but no one's striking me as it has. But maybe it will. Maybe it'll be first. Joshua Michael, question, J-dawg, how often do you guys restock Deicide? For a band relatively as big as them, they stuff is pretty hard to come by here in Malaysia. Not as often as I'd like to. It seems like the first 4 albums and shit we don't have in stock majority of the time, which is unacceptable in my book. The only one we have in stock right now on CD is the last album, Overtures of Blasphemy, which I think is a phenomenal fucking album. I actually just listened to that album again very, very recently. I think I honestly, I give that album a fucking 10. I love it personally. I think it is probably my favorite album by them to come out in the last, let's say, 5 albums or so. Probably my favorite one. But Legion and stuff is also that. We'll get them again, but there's not like a set time. We were stocking every 3 months or every 4 months. But in my opinion, the first 4 Deicides, just my opinion, I think I should be on the shelves at all time, because when you need metal, you go to hell, right? And to me, fucking Deicide's one of the main big metal bands that mandatory. You know what I mean? At least people that don't even like them, they at least know them, and it's respectable. It's just like all the fucking greats. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when you think of a metal distro, should be in there. Jodinkins, I've come to realize over the years that Deranged is Sweden's finest. The last 2 are great, not rated X amazing, but still great albums. I agree. There's not an album that I think sucks by them, but yeah, I like the earlier ones even better. And as far as their finest, I mean, I'm not going to go as far as saying I think they're the best band out of Sweden, but I will say this, especially because they did start pretty early 90s. I can't think of when the demo was. Was it maybe 92? So definitely after Entombed and shit like that, but not that much later. And all the other bands, for the most part, let's call it like it is, even though I like very, very large handful of them. Most of them were just kind of copying each other, as opposed to Deranged thought outside the box. They were playing more of the brutal death grind shit, almost like US sounding in a sense. So their own little sound over there, while everybody else is just like ripping each other off, being literally, in a sense, kind of posing off each other, right? With just trying to capture that suite of guitar sound again and again and again. And Deranged is like, fuck this, we're going to do our own thing. So in that sense, I kind of agree. They almost are one of the fucking finest. Also, a lot of people are just commenting on what they think of typo. Goatman, hey J-dawg, what do you define the cutoff for new school and old school guys? Is there something before old school, perhaps geriatric school? Oh man, I don't know if I'm saying that word right. I don't even know if I'm fully understanding the question. You're kind of asking like who I define as bands cut off new school, old school. But I'll go with this, and this will probably maybe answer your question. I remember me and Don had this conversation maybe about a year ago or so. I was up at his place, and I was up there, but I was at his place, and we were shooting the shit, and it got brought up, and he was laughing like, who did he bring up? Like, people using the term old school for old school death. Like, that's old school death. When he's like, old school? What are you talking about? That's new school. It was something from the 90s. He's like, that's this. I was like, yeah, but you got to understand now when you put it in the perspective, he's like, literally, that was fucking 30 years ago. So I get where they're coming from. I get where you're coming from because you were at the forefront, literally picking up Hellhammer demos when they're coming out. So when he saw bands like Obituary and stuff starting out, I mean, he was there for it. You know what I mean? So if someone's calling like Deeds of Flesh or something, I don't remember if it was I don't think it was then, but it was something of that era, mid 90s, where somebody's like old school death metal. I was like, old school death metal? What the fuck are you talking about? He's like, as I see that term thrown around on the internet, he's like, it's fucking ridiculous. Like, it's not anything old school. And I was like, yeah, but here's the litmus test. I was like, I remember when I got into when I was getting into death metal, going to shows, and when I met someone like yourself, when I met Don. When I met Don, I don't think I was 15, for example. One of his favorite stuff of all time is the Mantis Death demos, right? That's some of his favorite music ever. So you figured let's say I was 15, that would have been the year 2000 I met him, right? If I would have said, or if anybody would have said, or he could have said it himself, death demos, the Mantis demos, that's old school death metal. He would, if somebody else said it, he would completely agree with it. Or that would even be something he would say himself. Okay, that was the year 2000. Those demos came out. The first demo, Death by Metal, and Reign of Terror, that was 1984. That was 16 years ago when him and I would have been having that conversation. 16 years. Well, that's old school from 16 years ago. Deeds of Flesh, let's say you're putting that in 1994. Old school death metal. He's appalled by it. Well, is it not, though? You consider something from 16 years ago old school. 1994, that's almost 30 years ago. You know what I mean? 28 years. So I get where you're coming from because that wasn't when you're thinking old school, you're thinking kind of like the originators of the genre, I guess, for lack of better terms. Hell, put that fucking Tom G guy in there, Hellhammer again, who I do like, by the way, the music. Again, just the guy doesn't listen to heavy music, neither does King Diamond. Guarantee Tom G and fucking King Diamond and hell, even Glenn Benton. You think they're listening to that Slaughter Lord? Fuck no, they're not. Guaranteed they're not. Prove me wrong otherwise. Find something where they say they do. Anyway, so yeah, that was the old school shit. You know, the Hellhammers, the Death, the Massacres, the Insanities, you know what I mean? The Possess. But that's because it's original. So you telling me how much time has to go by? So that's kind of the question I'm kind of proposing to you, Goat Man, asking the question is, me and Don didn't walk away with what is considered old school? Like, what's the year? What's the cutoff? What's the criteria? Is it old school as in, Don didn't say this is the criteria, but in his mind, he, I guess, thought it without even thinking about it. It's the originators of the genre. Like I said, the Hellhammers, the Deaths, Possessed, etc. That's old school because they created the genre. Or is it old school by a certain time frame? Well, I mean, like I said, when I first met Don, that was 16 years when those death demos came out, and he damn sure would have considered it old school. So is it 16 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 10, 20 years? What's the cutoff then? What makes it old school? For example, who's a band that came out around 2000? Toxic Holocaust. Let's say Toxic Holocaust. Is that an old school thrash band? Is it? I think a lot of people watch this and be like, fuck no, they're not. What do you mean? They came out 99, 2000. That's not old school. I kind of agree. Forget like what they're trying to play. Obviously, their whole thing was trying to play old school thrash, in the vein of like, Sodom, etc. But are they an old school band? Forget the actual sound. I don't know. I mean, it's 22 years ago since they started, right? And yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't even know the answer to the question. Like I said, I just proposed the two things to Don. Like I said, what you would consider the Mantis death after 16 old school. This guy's saying that if you're going by time, it's almost 30 years for a band. Again, it wasn't Deeds of Flesh, but it was someone in that time frame, the mid 90s. He's like, old school my ass. But is he wrong? If we're just going by years, then I guess he can't be wrong. So put it, yeah, put it in there, Devils. Definitely put it in the comments. What do you consider? What's the criteria to make it old school? Is it the fucking actual sound of the music, or is it the years it's been around? So, for example, like someone could say, like, so definitely, what's not considered? What's a newer school death metal band? Who's somebody I like that newer? Of course, I'm going to draw a fucking blank. Let's say Shed the Skin, right? Nothing original on Hells, whatever. Can't they started? I don't know what 6 years ago or something. Whatever it is, 6 years, probably less than 10 years ago, right? Obviously, they're not considered old school yet, right? But let's say in the year 80 years from now, 80 years, is that going to be an old school band then? Is it? Or is it never going to be considered old school because of, yeah, well, dude, they're a death metal band that came 30, 40 years late to the game, playing, just kind of standard death metal, right? Whatever they're influenced by. So in 80 years, they're not even considered old school? I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but I'd be curious what the general vote is. Is it the kind of music, the sound of it, compared to what the originators is, or is it time frame? Let me know, because I couldn't really come to a conclusion with Don either. I just told both sides playing devil's advocate. Here's what I think that they mean. I was like, and honestly, I don't agree or disagree with either of them. I was like, I kind of agree with you, coming from what he was saying about the death, and then kind of agree with him too. 1994, man, I mean, that was a long fucking time ago. I mean, wasn't that when like the O.J. Simpson trial and shit was going on? I remember when that was. I was young as fuck. I was like, that seems like forever ago. So I was like, that was a long time ago, dude. Cardiac Arrest, another killer Swedish band I say is, I don't even know if I pronounced this right, but I definitely agree with you. Daigle, Degial. They got 3 full lengths, I believe. I own 2 of them for sure. And it's funny you say it. Every time I put them on, I'm like, this is fucking great. But for whatever reason, I just own 2 of the vinyls. I don't even think it's the CDs, but it's the vinyls. I always forget about them. Like the last time I listened to them was probably about at least 3 years ago. And then every time I kind of see it come through, it's, oh yeah, fuck, I put that up because I remember being really, really good, especially the first album. Because I remember when I first listened to them, they only had the one album out. For whatever reason, always forget about them, but always thought I was thoroughly fucking entertained listening to them. So I definitely agree with you. Perhaps someone in Montaigne I heard has involvement. I didn't hear that, but just picturing the image and everything and where it's from, I could see that. I would not be the least bit surprised. I could be wrong. All I can say is with Daigle, how do you pronounce it? I can never could. Someone put it in there like the fucking dictionary basics, how you pronounce it. Move over more of Angel. That's exactly. It was like, it's funny you say that. That's literally what I was kind of when that first album came out. I'm like, this is kind of what Morbid Angel should be playing now. It's like something I don't want to fucking stress from here because I mean the time that came out, the latest one, it probably was Iliud. I was out, maybe even Heretic, but I want to say that Iliud was out by the time the first Daigle came out. Daigle, how the fuck you pronounce it? I'm sure I'm butchering it. I mean, even though it's a simple fucking word, I don't know why I'm saying it wrong. Daigle, Degile. I don't know. But I was kind of thinking, like, yeah, this is what fucking shitty ass later Morbid Angels be playing. Not fucking what they're doing. Get one more here. Said people just Max was typo negative may have been chubby goth girl and fruit oil music. Never heard that term, but I see where you're coming from. Some questions I'm skipping over because I've definitely answered. Like guys ask me other kinds of music I like.
He's saying he likes Last Days of Humanity. Watch the channel, Bravo. You definitely I answer that, and you know what my opinion is on Last Days of Humanity. Oh shit, we discussed now. I know. Channel, bro. Definitely talk about it. You'll definitely know the answer for sure. Roger Korjak, greetings from Norway. Will there be a vinyl for the new Shed the Skin? Have not the time to see all your videos, but enjoy those I've seen. Thanks for that, brah. And yes, they just came in actually. That's another thing I can't pronounce. Thermogenesis. I think I pronounced it right. I thought the new Shed was awesome. As a matter of fact, the Shed the Skin, my favorite albums are the last two albums. I thought that was a band that gets better and better. But it's a toss up between this last album and the one before. I like them about evenly. But yeah, vinyls just came out. There's 100 on gold vinyl and the rest on black vinyl. They literally just came in yesterday. And pick yours up. Highly recommend. The gold vinyl will be sold out, and probably by the. I mean, Shed the Skin, like I said, they're our top selling band, but it's solid band, and the previous vinyls are all sold out. I think the previous album we have some left of that one, but the first two are definitely sold out, and the 100 of the golds, yeah, by the end of this year they'll be gone. So minimally that. Said, and I think it's a fantastic fucking record, and definitely recommend it. Two thumbs fucking way the fuck up, and they're here. So yeah, go over the hells and get them, goddamn it. So that's it for this one, Devils. Comments, questions, concerns, put it in the goddamn comments box, and we'll see you tomorrow. Later, goddamn it.